Hey guys, on this tutorial we will dual boot Arch Linux Hyprland with Windows 10. Please stay tuned. Now, as always, before you do any changes to your system, always make sure that all your important files are always backup. Something might go wrong, at least you still have your important files. The first thing we need to do is, of course, download the latest ISO from the Arch Linux website, and then we can use the Rufus to burn it to a USB. Now, after that, we'll need to create a space for the Arch Linux. Now, dual booting with the Arch Linux and Windows 10 is not really advisable, especially on a single disk, because Windows, they are notoriously known that whenever there's an update, it is always messing up the bootloaders. Now what you can do is type into the search button on the Windows and then just search disk management, and it should pop up the create and format hard disk. So as you can see in here, I have already pre-created earlier an almost 100 gigabyte space for the Arch Linux. And what you can do is if you need to create space, you can right click and then shrink volume. Now the space is entirely up to you, but as per wiki, the minimum recommended space that you should have is at least 20 gigabytes. And then after that you can boot into USB. But another thing that you should or might have to do is to disable the secure boot and the fast boot. Depending on the BIOS, this is how it looks on my. Now the screen is a little bit smaller. Let me just fix that for you. Or if it's too small, you can type in the command set font there -132 and let me just increase. So there you go. You should be able to see it properly now. And of course, if you need to connect to the internet via Wi-Fi, you can use the command iwctl and then device list. As you can see here, I have the WLAN 0. So station WLAN 0 get networks, and then I will connect to the first one, UNet. So station WLAN 0 connect U plus net. Now before, by the way, here, if you need to connect to a more than 2 words, like for example this my home TP, I can do so by putting the apostrophe my home TP, and then you should be able to connect if you type in the proper password. But I'm not connecting to that. So station WLAN 0 connect U plus net 13345G, and I'm going to need to type in my password, and it should be already connected. You can verify that by get networks. So you can see here on the arrow left, on the beside the unet plus U plus net, there is an arrow, so that means it's connected. So we can type in quit here, and then we can test the internet if it's working or there is a connection. So I'm gonna send a 3 packet to archlinux.org. So I have a connection, which is a little bit slow. Let me try it again. Yeah, there you go. Great. Now we have made a space earlier And if you type in lsblk, as you can see in here, still not be able to see. So we need to prepare first the partition or the space we have created. So if we go into cfdisk deb sta /deb /sta. So here is the 97 gigabytes which we have created earlier. Now there are two partitions that we need to create. First thing is the EFI or boot partition. In this case, I'm gonna assign it 800 megabytes. On the wiki, it says that at least 300 megabytes. However, from my experience, it's not enough, and you can only put a one kernel in there. And if you need to, let's say, add kernels like Zen kernel or the LTS kernel, it's always advisable that you need at least 600 megabytes. And since I have a lot of space here, I'm gonna put or assign at least 800 megabytes. And then I will also assign a RAM or swap partition. This is entirely up to you, entirely optional. So I will assign the 6.9G because I have the 96.9G. So I will assign the 6.9G as swap. And then the rest, of course, is the root partition. Now I need to change this to the type and go into EFI. And then here is the swap. And before exiting, you need to make sure that you need to write and answer yes. And then quit. Typing again the lsblk. Now you can see that the SDA678, that's the partition that we have created. Now it's better to format now before typing in the archinstall, because then you don't have to do that much during the installation or during the preparation. So we need to MKFS, we need to format the MKFS to BFAT, capital F, 32. This is 32-bit. You can also put 16-bit if you want. 32-bit is the advisable from the Arch wiki. So that's SDA6. Now you have to be really careful here on which partitions, because if you accidentally format, let's say 4 or 5, that's where your Windows partition is, then basically and then make it swap dev SDA 7, because I created a swap. If you didn't create the swap, then ignore the swap. And then I will format it to ext4, my root partition. So that's dev SDA 8. There you go. So now let me click clear. Now if you download the ISO from April 2023, I know that the archinstall script in there is buggy and you will end up with an error. So to fix that, you need to type in first the pacman -key -init, and then after that we can populate Arch Linux, and this one is will update the keys. And then need to update the archinstall script, so you can type in pacman sy archinstall, and this will synchronize and then also download the archinstall, latest archinstall. So there you go, it's already installed. Now you can clear, and then you can type in the archinstall. Now this archinstall script is really nice, and yeah, it's actually self-explanatory. So mirror is, I'm gonna choose which closest to me, which is South Korea, because I'm in South Korea. Locale, I'm gonna leave it here, same as the encoding, I'm gonna leave. And then the drive. Now if you have a multiple drive, then of course you need to be careful which drive that you wanted to format or to install with. In my case, I have only one drive on my system, So I'm gonna choose this one, the second one, STB. That's where my USB is, and then I have this 500 gigabyte. This layout is, of course, we are dual booting, so we're not gonna wipe the selected one. Instead, I'm gonna choose the select. And there are two things only that we need to do here. That is to mount the partitions that we have created, except for swap. And we don't need to add the swap. And assign a partition, so that's the SD index 5. If you can see on the left, 567, that's why we created. So I choose the 5, and this has to be /boot, and then assign mount partition for the number 7 because that's the last one. And I'm gonna just type in a /, then save and exit. This encryption is entirely up to you. I'm not gonna put here. Bootloader, I would highly suggest the grub. Last time I was posted January, I think it was system D, so this time I'm gonna use the grub. Swap, this is the ZRAM, so don't get confused with the swap partition and the ZRAM. So yes, I want to use ZRAM. For the host name, I will put it as archinstall because I will be installing here Hyprland later on. Root password, I will just leave it this disable, so I will disable the root. However, on the add user, I will make sure that my user that I'm creating is a super user, or at least there's one super user, since you disable the root. Otherwise, we cannot go in and you need to ch root to your system. Profile, I'll use the minimal. Kernels here, I will choose the LTS. And my experience, even though I unselect the Linux, it's still by default it's installing this. That's the reason why I increased the partition, or the EFI partition, a little bit bigger. Anyway, I'll just choose the Linux LTS. Additional package, there are some additional packages that we needed. Git, because I need to download later on my GitHub. And then Nano or Vim. You can also install a new Vim if you want. XDG user dirs. And then network, I highly suggest the network manager. Network manager is just make it easier for everything. Time zone, I'm gonna choose the time zone. So if you type in the / for search, you can just type in here let's say the name. So see Asia Seoul, enter. And then automatic, yes, I'll choose that one. Optional repositories, I will enable the multilib. If you don't want the 32-bit, then you don't enable this. But for me, I will enable the 32-bit. And then you can either save. This is saving, you can save it to your USB, or you can actually just go ahead and install. I'm gonna click this one and then press enter. Now this, on my experience, this or my test, it takes a little bit some time because it's actually searching and doing an fdisk or some kind of check to your hard disk, because we are dual booting. If we are wiping all the partition, and then that's the time that it will be a little bit faster. Now be patient on this. Do not power off your system. Make sure that you have enough battery if you're using a laptop, and then go get some coffee, get some tea, and then just watch if there's anything error. Okay, I'm gonna post the video here and I'll be right back. Alright, that took quite some time. I think it was like 20 minutes or so. Now if you come to this, you don't have to chroot actually. You can just say no here and then reboot, and then if let's say didn't boot on Arch, then we can fix that one later on, because sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. Okay, so it didn't boot, so I have to set this to a priority 1 to boot it onto Linux first. I'm just gonna save this. Alright, so now I'm logged into Arch Linux. So I need to type in my user 04. What's the password? My complicated password. And if you want to dual boot it, then you need to download. Oh, I forgot. I think we don't have internet now. Let me just do a quick test. So I don't have internet. So since we installed the network manager earlier, so we can use the command nmtui, and this should give you the option or nice graphical. Then I will connect it here. I should connect. So there you go. You can see here the asterisk. Alright, I'll go back and then can quit. And then we need to install, I forgot to add earlier, the OS prober. Sudo pacman s. Yes. Very good. And then, so after installing the OS prober, we need to edit the grub configuration file. So I will use vim here on etc default grub. Pressing enter. Now I want to change this to timeout to, let's say, 2 seconds only, or 1 second, and then uncomment this grub disable OS prober. WQ. Very good. And then we need to update the grub. Boot grub.cfg. Now it should, maybe it will not. I don't think so. No, it doesn't. So going into our partition again, we need to mount first the SDA1 where the bootloader for Windows is, and I need to make a directory. So mkdir from boot, then I will just say win plus Windows. So after that I need to mount in sudo mount dev sda1 2 /boot /win. So now it's mounted in there. I need to, again, we can press the arrow up to find the updating. Now it should be able to find out. There you go. So now next time you boot and you choose the Arch to be first to boot, then you have the option to choose Windows or Arch. Great. So, and then after that I will just need to edit first the, let me see, pacman.conf, because I want to have the pacman.conf. See, this is what I forgot earlier. Uncomment this. Now I made a video about this few months ago, because this will give us some additional features. Let me see if the multilib, yes, multilib is enabled. Then after that, clear. I just need to synchronize, or you can actually run also update. So since it's just newly installed, so there's no more update. And then I need to clone my repo. So this is the https github.com /J KOOLIT. and then small t only, small t / and then I made a separate dot files, or separate GitHub dot files. There you go, wherein I just clean up. It's the same configuration as my previous videos covering the Nvidia, however I just clean it up. And then let me just change to Hyprland LSL. Then this should give you, you see here, I made a script covering the, if you are on Nvidia, then of course you still have here the Nvidia old driver, and then I made a separate one for Yay and then one for Paru. So for those who wanted to use either one of those, don't worry, you don't have to install first the Paru or Yay, because part of the script is in there. So if you need to, let's say, investigate, let's say Paru Hyprland, then you can see in here how's the progress. Now I'm not gonna go through here all of it, but I'm just gonna run the script first. So LSL, no, LSAL. Now I need to make the Paru or Yay executable. Now in this tutorial I will use the Paru Hyprland. So after that we can do that /paru Hyprland. Now what this do is it's gonna run the script, and then it will download and install the files as needed. Now from time to time it will ask you for this password, and it will ask you some questions, then you need to answer here yes or no if you want. So there's no Paru, so I'm gonna say yes here, and as you can see it's cloning the Paru bin. And then this will take some time, especially if we choose to install the packages. So as you can see in here, it asks you, do you have a Nvidia-Hyprland? Now if you click yes here, it will download the Hyprland Nvidia, but if you click no, then it will download the normal Hyprland. So since I don't have Nvidia here now, and for those who are in Nvidia, who have a Nvidia video card, please check my other video, because I covered some things that we needed to do there in order to get a proper up and running Hyprland Nvidia. So I'm gonna click no here, and as you can see, it will download. Then depending on your internet speed, and from time to time it will ask you some questions. So I would suggest, again, go grab a coffee, go grab a tea, water, grab some snack, and this should not take long, because some of the Git packages only left is the wifi Hyprland Git, and I believe also I added here the icon theme switch. That's the one which is a little bit takes longer. Now before I move on here, so I would like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button. It makes me a little bit sad, to be honest, because when I check out my previous video covering the dual boot, I've got like 7,000 views, and my previous one is 15,000 views, but looking at my subscriber count, it's a little bit low. So while waiting, if you could please hit that subscribe button, it will be mean a lot to me, because then it's also what I'm doing is I'm just sharing you guys all the tips and tricks which I found out regarding my experience in handling Arch Linux or even Gentoo, for example. So please, if you could please hit the subscribe button. It's free, doesn't cost you a penny or cent. So please hit the subscribe button. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video here because you can see now it's downloading some of the packages, and whenever there is a question, then I will resume. Alright, that took like less than 5 minutes, And then what it does here is, of course, started the Bluetooth and clean up all the XCG portals implementations, like the XCG portal, KDE, GNOME, KDE, GTK, WLR, all that kind of stuff. And then asking for a copy. Now this is the copy. Now these are the Hyprland configs that I use, and also that I'm gonna say yes in here, because then it will copy the config and then make it executable. And this one is only optional, only for ROG or Asus ROG laptops. And since I don't have now, I have a Samsung laptop. That's my wife's laptop. Then I'm gonna say no here, and then it will ask if I want to disable the power save on the Wi-Fi. Then I'm just gonna say yes in here, because then it will make the Wi-Fi more stable. And then asking here if I want to start the Hyprland. I'm gonna say no here, because cd clear. Now if you notice, I didn't make any login manager here. So when you log in, you will be greeted by this, because one reason why I don't use a login manager is because especially SDDM and systemd, sometimes it's a little bit buggy, even though I use also the SDDM Git. So that is why I stopped using the login managers. So once you are logged into your Arch, then you need to type in your username, of course, and then your password. And then to boot to Hyprland, you need to type in capital H Hyprland and press enter. Now you should go in there. Alright, so once you booted, log into your Arch Linux, newly Arch Linux, you will be greeted by this. You can change the wallpaper using the middle click on the clock, but these are only temporary. You can change it on the configuration files, which is super T. Then you will get the tuner, and then of course config.config, hyper on the configs, then on the first one exec conf, and then just scroll, and then you get this startup sway BG. Now you just need to change here to your desired wallpaper. And then on the left, these are just the numbers of workspaces. Say number 4 is on my OBS, and then here you got the CPU. I got 4 core only, 2 core, 4 threads, and then you get the CPU temperature, and then the use RAM. Now right clicking here, or click, and then this is the CPU temperature. Right clicking should launch the PTAP. You can change the menu here. I mean, you can change the theme, whatever you want. It's entirely up to you. That's why I just left it as a default. Exit and then quit. And then same with the RAM usage. Right click will launch the BTAP. And quick. You can quick it also by super Q. And then the weather, right click will give you the location. This should be automatic. And then the little penguin here is the wifi, or the menu. It's the same. When you press super D, then you got this box. Super shift D will make it just a bigger wifi. And then on the clock, clicking it, then you will get the clock and then the date. If you hover it, you get the calendar, month. Right click will be the whole year. This padlock is a sway lock. So if you click it, then you got this screen lock. And of course, the tray icon, you get this network manager applet. Bluetooth here, you can right click, turn on, turn off. Same with the network, right click, then you can enable or disable networking, whatever you wish. And then of course here the battery indicator. Now one thing on the battery indicator is if you right click, if you can just right click, then you will get the blur or no blur. I'm gonna demonstrate that for you. Launching the foot, there you go. Now you will see. And then of course the brightness control, you can scroll using your mouse or the keyboard. And then the volume up and down, same thing on the keyboard. And then of course the mic level, you can increase or decrease. No, it doesn't have a mute or for mic. And then for muting, just click it, and same with the mic. There, you can hear me. And then this one is W logout. And then configuration files, Super T will launch the, I pressed twice, will launch the tuner. All the configuration files is .config. Of course, some of them like W logout and food is outside, but most and tuner swaylag is also here. And for the Hyprland is mostly put it in here. Configs exec.conf is the executable files, go through here. And then keybinds you can change here the way you want it. And then of course monitors, you can play around here. There is also instruction on top. And then these are the Windows rules. For example, if you need to, if you want floating, let's say launching the, let's say pabu control. So right clicking here, then yeah, you will see here this is now on float control. Same thing with the VLC, view nor sway img. So you can change here the way you want it. Okay, so sorry I forgot to add this one when I was just editing the video. So before I upload, I'm just gonna talk about the themes. Now, for changing the theme, there is this GTK settings. This is actually the NWG pin which is added there, and then you can set here the way you want. For example, the like if you get the brightness or a little bit bright, so you can see here the background, right? And then of course Dracula, which is pre-installed. Icon theme, there's only Adwaita and then Dracula. Now, depending on your one, you can download from the internet. Mouse cursor as well is this is pre-installed, so you can just select here. Font is, for example, if you want to, by default this is only on 1.0, but then the fonts they are a little bit smaller, so you can increase it for easy reading. Normally I just leave this as 1.25. And this is for the GTK settings. Now if you want to change, for example, the QT apps, there is also called QT, yes, here, QT5 settings, which is included on the package. Okay, and then of course you can change here the way we want, including the fonts. Fonts here by default, this is the default, so you can change here what you wanted, how you wanted. It's entirely up to you. So Fantastic is now one of my favorite. then yeah, that's just about it. So just play around with the settings. If you have any comments or suggestion, please let me know down in the comments. And of course, you can also submit a issue on the GitHub page, on my GitHub page. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It's free. Again, it should help me, and it will help me motivate to give you more tips and tricks. Alright guys, so that's just about it. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Have a good day. Until next time. Bye now.